All right, folks, it's time for another episode of Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. It's the show to kick off the Twitch channel for the week. I'm Ed Charbeneau, and John Bristowe is here with me today. How you doing, John?
Hello. I'm well. I just saw NASA launch a helicopter on another planet, which was pretty cool. And here I am sitting, trying to debug a file not found exception. My abilities as a developer are woefully underutilized compared to NASA's accomplishments. So well done to them.
Yeah, the helicopter will be fine as long as left pad stays online.
Sure,
Be good.
Yep. Perfect.
I heard they had like a difficult time with the whole helicopter concept in building it because the atmosphere's different. So you don't get as much propulsion out of the blades.
Correct. Yeah, it's a little thinner. So until we have magnetic drives and things like that, we're going to still rely on air currents to lift heavy things. So
the whole like ionic propulsion and stuff, maybe someday we'll see that. Who knows? So this is the show where we get into the news of the week. Some of it from the week prior, some of it coming up. John, let's start off with some of your links that you've got.
Sure.
What is HashiCorp? And I think we've talked about Terraform a little bit.
Yeah. So HashiCorp is the company, Terraform's the product. Terraform is basically a state management product. Allows you to basically manage your infrastructure like code, I guess, through configuration. They have a format called HCL, and it's just it sort of looks like JSON a little bit, but basically Terraform is the product they use to manage that, and they've updated a relatively minor update, 0.15. Terraform is incredibly popular for folks who want to manage their systems using it, and so they've just updated it. So just an FYI, nothing major to talk about.
Robert Table says, "Did you know you can use Terraform to order pizza from Domino's?"
Yep.
So what a
change state from awesome. Order to ordered, I guess. So yeah.
It's up on GitHub too, it looks like. So
yeah, so HashiCorp has got a lot of products. Terraform is just one of them, but this seems to be the lion's share of the interest, I guess, because a lot of people want to do this. This gets around basically, if you're kind of getting the elevator pitch of this, it's basically like, I have to go through UIs and go click to configure stuff most of the time. if there's a provider for your product, like let's say you're using something from Progress Telerik. Let's say, what would be a good example? Let's say you want to install some components and change them on the file system or something. You could use Terraform to do that. You can use Terraform to manage your cloud infrastructure. And so rather than having to, it's sort of the equivalent of writing shell scripts, I guess, but you're doing it through configuration. And then what Terraform will do is reconcile differences. So it will say, hey, I've noticed that you've done this, and I'm going to apply these changes. Are you okay with that? And you can say yes. And you could also pull down state. So you can say, go up to that server over there, and you understand what it is. Like, let's say it's an Azure web instance. It will suck down that state and then persist it on disk and then track changes as you go through it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think I would have a better chance at getting a helicopter to fly on Mars than understand what you're talking about.
I suppose, but the nice thing about I know. It's not too bad looking at it. I mean, the nice thing about this is that you can check it into source control. So that's the big win there. A script itself has implicit state, whereas this is just all state. Sorry, I don't mean to use the company name. This is just containing state. So when you persist that to you persist that to state control, source control rather, you have a safe and sane way of upgrading it relative to the source control itself. Obviously, you can destroy things. So yeah. So this is just a point one release. Terraform's been doing this for a while.
This is talking about the Nvidia.
Sure. So we talked about this previously. So Nvidia made a acquisition for ARM, and I believe it was about $40 billion with a B. And we talked about this in a previous episode of Eat Sleep Code. What's interesting is the UK government has come along and said, actually, we're going to submit what's called a public interest intervention notice, which is basically what's happened here is that the chips that ARM is producing, I think, are utilized by or used by the UK government, and so they have a vested interest in this acquisition or sale of ARM, and they don't want it to, I guess, proceed or otherwise. You can read the interest here, but basically it's the UK government has kind of intervened and said, hey, we don't like this because it puts our national security at risk. And so we talked about this previously. This is just the latest blip that I saw, and I thought it would just be an interesting follow-up for people to take note of.
Yeah. Is it a national security thing, or is it more of a monopoly?
No, I think it is a national security thing. I mean, look, I'm not privy to all the details, obviously, but it is something that I think relates to that. They say that, we have some, basically the government's saying we have some concerns. And so there was speculation, I think, on Hacker News where people were talking about how it is related to national security relative to the chip supply chain from ARM for the UK government. So I don't know. I mean, this is just something that the latest blip in this sort of saga that's ongoing. So just interesting stuff.
Somehow it could limit your access to devices if.
Well, it can also limit your negotiating.
Supplier.
Yeah. If you're the consumer of the chips and it's part of your supply chain, that's vital to your national interests, and I guess that is the national security interest. I don't know. So, anyways.
Yeah, it is a pretty strong move by Nvidia to try to scoop this up. So,
sure.
You can imagine there's going to be some roadblocks ahead of them to get this done. So we'll see what happens if they do.
Yeah.
Speaking of big updates coming.
Nice.
It looks like they finally announced Visual Studio 2022 that will be in preview this summer. So I'm assuming by the title of the product it will be released next year, but looks like we're going to have some previews this year. I'm wondering how different this will be from the 2019 preview bits we have now.
Yeah.
So one thing that they announced is Visual Studio 2022 64-bit.
Good.
Which JetBrains quickly pinged back with welcome to 64-bit.
Welcome to the 21st century.
I guess Ryder has been there for quite some time already. Kind of joking back and forth on Twitter. They're updating some of the UI, which this is something that started with, I want to say, VS 2017. is it 2017 or 2015 where they like repainted this entire slate and they went completely black and white.
That was 2015. I think the flat
2015?
UI.
Yeah, so they broke away from the Windows OS theme and went with the flat like Windows 8 theme.
Yep.
And they went whole hog into the flat theme to the point where nothing had color. It was very monochromatic.
Sure.
And it shot the UI to a disaster.
Well, depends.
No, it was pretty bad. It was a disaster because I mean you had like even these icons like here I'll try to highlight these here, ones that have very specific meaning when they're colored had no color at all. So you'd look at your menu and it was just a blur of monochromatic shapes and none of the colors stuck out. And they gradually added color to the important things like the ones I highlighted.
Hey, it leveled the playing field, right? Talk about accessibility. I'm sure all the people there were like, welcome to our world.
Like,
what are you complaining about?
Fail. I mean, come on. You want to have green, red lights showing up. If you're doing like testing, you don't want a bunch of gray icons, no matter if it's passing, failing, or in between.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, it was far overkill in the wrong direction. So they reined it back in a little bit, and it looks like they're tidying that up just a little bit more in this release.
All right.
So, more icons, a little bit more colors coming back into the fold. That's good. Looks like personalizations happening, and I think there's already kind of support for transferring your settings across
Yep.
devices and syncing. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, they're just making it better, I would assume.
Yeah, hopefully this includes theming. Themability of Visual Studio is terrible. Visual Studio Code you can theme very easily. There's even online tools for it. It's written with Electron, so it's basically just adding hex values for CSS properties to an extent, and it's very well documented. It has an inspection tool built into it. Visual Studio, not so much. It's kind of a nightmare to try to style that thing. And hopefully this means snippets are fixed, because this has been broken since at least 2015. So V6 installers of snippets is completely busted. And hopefully they revamp. Let me get to the end of the article, maybe.
Okay.
They ask for...
Oh, you're going quick, dude.
Here we go. We'll scroll back up while I'm on a rant.
All right.
Let us know what you think. They point you to the portal. Hopefully they fix the dev community portal too, because this is a hot mess in my opinion. So it's one of those systems where you vote things up.
Yep.
But
user
the problem
voice
with it is,
yeah.
You get 100 of the same issue that has 2 votes, and they're like, oh, it only has 2 votes, and they close it down. Yeah, but there was 100 of them with 2 votes that all mean the same thing. So that's really 200 or 400 votes.
These things are hard at best, dude. Like
they're hard.
We have a user voice. They're hard to collate everything. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had too many tickets shut down because dumb reasons. So
yeah.
I gave up on it. I don't submit feedback anymore, and that's not a good thing.
You're at stage 5 acceptance.
Yeah. Like nobody looks at these. So
all right.
A bot literally closes the issues down. So why am I going to bother wasting my time investing my words into the system? So anyhow, they've got. Now that I'm done dumping on it, let's talk about some of the features.
Yep.
We've got .NET
.NET
MAUI
6
being supported out of the box. They've been working on a new Razor engine for this, and it's going to bridge the gap between Visual Studio and VS Mac. So it's great to see that as an addition to 2022.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about the future of VS Mac, relative to this,
Mm-hmm.
But
I believe that's mentioned in here.
Oh, okay.
There we go. So they're refreshing,
it's refreshing.
VS for Mac as well.
Good.
They're going to try to make it on par with Visual Studio.
I noticed that Aaron in the chat room is talking about selling those dual screen devices in that graphic. You notice that they put it in the rear. They're like, yeah, don't worry about that. God, who buys those things? Those clamshells. Ugh, who buys those things? Why don't you just add a stylus? You'll be complete. Power glove and stylus, perfect. Sorry, it's early.
Yeah. No, I'm glad the chat room's piling on with us. This is great.
Yeah. Oh, dude, dog pile.
So I don't mean to dump on this this press release. Because I do enjoy Visual Studio, but having used it for so long.
Yeah.
I want to. It can do better. It's like I'm talking to my children now. It's like I know you can do better.
No, dude, I'm with you. I love Visual Studio. Absolutely love Visual. Visual Studio was what we needed as an industry to kind of wake everyone up. Like, dude, developers matter too. So
yeah.
But yeah.
If I didn't like it, I wouldn't be critical of it. I'd be like,
no. Absolutely right. Yeah. Absolutely right. Can you just scroll down to the code search?
Sure.
Thing for a sec. Just want to see what this is. Code search. Blah blah blah. Developers use. Okay, we get it. Just tell us what you're doing. Okay, better performance. All right. I love it when you're reading these feature releases. It's like reading recipes online. They're like, making pie reminds me of my childhood. And then like when they describe and like just get to the recipe. Like all I want for these releases, just tell me what you're fixing, please. Just get to it. So, okay, scroll up again, just a little bit. Asynchronous climb. Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. I get that. Yeah.
GitHub stuff that they're integrating even further because of their acquisition of GitHub.
Yeah. Scroll up again. Sorry. Sorry, just scroll up.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. Okay, IntelliCode engine continues to get better. Okay, good. That's good. That stuff's good. Real-time collaboration, meh, whatever. Live share I haven't used that much, honestly. Diagnostics and debugging. Okay, interesting. Will include performance improvements in the core debugger and additional features like flame charts. Okay, so they're adding features that will give you better integrated debugging. Okay, good.
Yeah, live share looks like it's going to be a big focus of this.
I know. I'm kind of on the fence about live share. I mean, I can see the benefit for it, but I really don't like when I do that sort of stuff. I'm just doing it over Zoom and we're screen sharing. So
Robert Tables is hitting some good ones out there.
There you
go. He's here all week, folks.
All right.
All right, and I gotta say, hats off to Amanda Silver, by the way. Who put this together. She's program manager on this. It is not an easy task to come up with these things.
No.
And you have to talk about the roadmap, and a lot of the features probably aren't baked yet, which leads to we need to say which one was it? Improve code search. We need to talk about this, but we don't have we can't spill any details yet because something might get taken out of the roadmap. So you gotta kind of like dance around carefully and word these things in such a way that you don't promise anything. So when it doesn't get delivered, people aren't like, "Hey, you promised that thing." Yeah. So hats off.
I know.
Fantastic presenter, by the way. Love.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I've seen her before. She's great. I was gonna say like the feature request stuff is okay. I think most folks, especially developers, would like to see GitHub issues. Like, I really think they should move it away from this sort of marketing, high-gloss feature issue list and move it more towards something that can have a more thorough discussion and, maybe targeted towards check-ins or rather pull requests, et cetera. But I know Visual Studio isn't there, but there you go.
Yeah. And I think it's good we skipped the 2022. It's usually odd years, but... nobody.
Yeah, for good reason. We skipped 2021.
2021. I get. Yeah, let's go with 2022. It's a kind of a one of those numbers that's nice look. Nice even looking number too.
Yeah. I'm with you.
We'll go for that one.
All right.
So preview 1's coming out pretty soon. This is this summer, so I'm gonna say
cool.
July-ish.
Whatever.
When
you least suspect it.
Yeah.
You'll be like jumping. It'll be jumping out of the bed like Kato does in the Pink Panther movies. Sorry, that's a
speaking of whatever
old reference.
Speaking of whatever, so tomorrow's an Apple Spring event. So there's some speculation of what's coming tomorrow. Usually these things are pretty on point because I feel like these are intentionally released to the press.
Yeah.
leaked. They're leaked all the time.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure it is. So iPad Pro looks like it's going to get an update, bigger, faster, stronger,
Sure.
based off of M1 processors and whatnot.
Yep. I
There's
like the iPad. I think the iPad's a good device, but it's like, between phones and full desktops, or rather laptops, I guess, it's kind of hard to find that niche. I mean, Apple's got a good product on its hands. Just trying to wedge itself in there is the challenge, I guess.
iPads are the game at tablets, though.
Oh, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go shopping for an Android tablet, you're in for a world of hurt.
Sure.
You've either got something that is so cheap it's never going to make you happy, or something that's so expensive you probably should have bought an iPad anyway.
Yeah, I was going to make a VHS Betamax reference, but in this case, Android I don't think is superior to the iPad, but whatever. So there you go.
Yeah.
Bad reference. Deleted.
In other news, what's old is new again. Something we've had in the open standards world forever is these Bluetooth tags, but I'm sure they'll be revolutionary tomorrow. AirTags are what I'm assuming is going to be a Bluetooth tag similar to what's the one that's pretty popular these days? Oh man,
Tile.
Tile. Yes, thank you. So you put them on your luggage, you put them on your purse, you put them on your phone, you put them on your keys, and if any, you can track them. You can, if you forget your luggage at the restaurant in the airport, you start walking away, your phone will beep and tell you to go back and grab it.
Sure.
They're brilliant for forgetful people like myself. Looks like we're finally getting those for Apple.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm sure they'll say that they've.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll say something like, "We've reimagined or we've invented this. No one's ever thought of it this way before." Ugh. So.
Ick.
Ugh.
New iPad Mini, it looks like, is possible. That's something I haven't heard about in a while. I hear about iPads and iPad Pros. I don't hear about the Mini so often.
No.
Next gen AirPods, more Apple TV.
I don't know what they're going to do. Like, the AirPods are pretty good. Like, I've got a pair myself. I have to say, this is actually one of the better devices Apple's come out with in a long time. So I would say that, although some people have reported that, they cause problems, but I've been really happy with mine. And I got to say, the design on this is pretty top notch. I've got a couple of Apple TVs myself as well. The thing that they've got to do is get rid of that stupid remote. That remote is the worst device on the planet. I hate it. And so they just make me a top class, like, I only use the built-in remote on my iPhone for that. I never use the remote. The remote is just like, ugh, get this out of here. So.
Yeah, it seems like we had a generation of remote developers or designers that just should have never happened. Like, these people need to find other careers. The
Logitech crew.
Well, I haven't seen any Logitech TV stuff, but they're like mice and stuff are great.
Yes.
The Fire TV remote is terrible, if not worse than this one.
Oh, okay, I seem to remember
Fire
that one.
TV, Amazon is terrible at making hardware, except for maybe the personal assistant stuff. I don't want to say it out loud because it'll start listening to me, but their other hardware is terrible. TVs, tablets, all that stuff. Not interested.
Sure.
Not interested. And the remote is the big one. Like, this one looks like it's been redesigned since I've seen it last.
No, it's still the same.
All the buttons are the same size and shape.
There's a touch sensor at the top there in that black area. Well, the top black matted area. So you can move your thumb around and all that. But, like, the worst part is when you have to type in search. Like, you have to do this sort of scroll mechanism. And I know you can talk to the remote, et cetera, but it's just so much easier if you've got a phone. Yeah,
the Fire TV ones, like, all the buttons are the same shape and size. So if it's dark, you can't. Yeah. You don't know what you're doing. You're just pressing circles, and usually, if it's me, I hit the button that turns the whole thing off, and it's like, okay.
Yep.
So all I wanted to do is pause the show. Now I got to like reboot the device and get back into the show and find out where I was. And by then I'm like, all right, it's time for bed. Let's do something else. So anyway, Apple thing tomorrow looks
okay.
We'll
I'll make sure to miss it.
We'll see what happens.
I'll make sure to miss it.
We need to queue up a proper intro for this one, John.
Oh, God.
This is a segment I like to call Can It Play Doom? And,
what do we got now?
This time we have 3D holographic displays. So these are displays that they're very thin, but they still manage to project depth. And
okay.
Oops, I actually didn't mean to do
oops.
that. But
yeah,
sure,
oops, right.
Yeah, so you gotta see it in motion, really.
Okay.
Now that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. So
is it though?
It is actually a 3D display. So it has depth. They're talking about putting this in phones and things. So it looks pretty interesting. With AR and LiDAR and stuff like that, you could do a lot of creative things with a display like this.
All
so,
right.
Very cool.
Okay, if you say so.
Gotta love this AR demo that's not creepy at all. I don't know what this is supposed to be.
Oh my God.
What is this? Oh my gosh. All right.
Ugh.
So I've got one more here. One more. Can it play Doom, John? Can we put Doom on a bootloader? So I thought this one was kind of cool. So you can have a device that boots directly into Doom.
Okay.
So making Doom part of the bootloader.
And so does Doom act as like your shell now at this point?
Yeah. So you like put it on like a USB or a CD drive or whatever you want.
Yeah.
And when you plug it in and reboot the computer, it goes straight into Doom. Why not? Why not? I like it.
Good.
Pretty awesome.
All right, if you say so. There you
go. Speaking of awesome, what do we have here? Awesome GHA snippets.
Yeah, GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions is actually really taking off in a big way. I think at last look, there's about 8,000 of them in the marketplace, and they're just yet another way of utilizing workflow within a GitHub repo. If you're not using them today, you really should check them out. I think they offer a lot of value. So this gentleman here put up this repo called Awesome GHA Snippets, which is basically some of the learnings that this person's gone through in terms of building out their workflows. And so there's lots of really good tips and tricks in here that I thought were valuable. The reason why it's relevant to me, and being selfish, I'm going to mention it, is because I've actually been building GitHub Actions for Octopus Deploy recently. But there were some good tips and tricks in here that I thought were clever. When you publish a new release, make sure you publish the release notes to, say, a Slack channel, or, if you're going to publish this or commit that, there's all kinds of little tips and tricks in there. So for folks who haven't used GitHub Actions, I know this may look a little bit like daunting, or it may not make any sense. The reality is that GitHub Actions, they're really simple descriptions based in YAML. They basically describe what you want to do when, and they are keyed off of events that are triggered in GitHub. So you can do an event, you can kick off a workflow if you create a new release, you can kick off a workflow if you check in code, you can kick off a workflow if you submit a pull request or accept a pull request, and this allows you to keep your code like nicely linted or checked on in a variety of ways, or when you create a new release, you can auto-generate your changelog, things like that. So there's all kinds of different things you can do with these things. And so since the world runs on GitHub, I guess, sort of like the world runs on Duncan, this is probably relevant to folks who are going to be using workflows, and I would recommend that you take a look at them. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't see one on NuGet packages in here. That's the one I'm interested in. I still need to look that up.
There are pack operations, and if you can't do anything relative to Actions directly, you can always shell out. So there's .NET built into the .NET Core is now built into the runners. So you have this concept of runners in GitHub Actions. So when you kick off a workflow, obviously there has to be a host OS. So there's a Windows OS, Mac OS, and Ubuntu OS that you can run off of, and .NET's built in, so you can kick off, .NET Pack or things like that if you want to. You can upload to NuGet, etc.
Cool. Cloud Optimizer.
Yeah, just another example of what you can do with some time and some tables, I guess. So this is basically price comparisons of different instances for various cloud providers. So, yeah, I thought it was kind of fun.
Nice. So I'm assuming
it's like the ultimate use of a table control.
Like search and figure out which
what combination
service is cheapest per hour or per CPU cycle or whatever they're measured by. Price out your clouds.
Yeah, I think for this it's mostly anything that's in Eastern U.S., anything that's a low sort of scale type instance is going to be your cheapest bet. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Let's
price per CPU is like 1 cent, like 0.1%, I guess. A lot of these times.
Azure in Western Europe seems to be the priciest.
Yeah, there's Southeast Asia is like really expensive. So
interesting. Yeah. Very cool. Cloudoptimizer.io it is.
Yeah. Just fun.
We've got some new Firefox coming.
Yeah, 88's now released. So minor updates, but it's important to keep your browsers up to date for various reasons. I use Brave myself, but people, if they're targeting the web especially, should have all the major browsers installed. So version 88 is available. I really like Firefox for its dev tools. If you're a web developer, dev tools are great in Firefox. If you're just doing casual browsing like myself, I use Brave for privacy. Chrome, I guess, and Safari. Safari's gotten really good, actually. I've been taking a look at it from time to time. It's actually quite good. Edge, I guess, if you're utilizing that. So, yeah.
Now, do you have to install updates on Firefox? It should auto-update these days.
It does. Right? It does auto-update. So they all auto-update now. So, yeah, not a problem.
All right. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Just blowing through them. Just, as many updates as you want. So.
This is an article that I found through CSS Tricks. It's kind of like a UI UX article. I thought it was pretty good here. It's talking about how to build a settings app or a settings feature in your app. Yes. And it's got like light mode, dark mode, and some nice layout best practices to make this, navigable, legible. Mm-hmm. It looks really well. It's really well designed. It follows the material theme.
Right.
And it's a very detailed article. I mean, it's a 6-part article here.
Yes.
And it covers accessibility, which is awesome. So this is about as dissected as you'll find an article like this. Mm-hmm. So I suggest you, if you're interested in anything UI related, to check this out. Like I said, very, very well documented here.
Yeah, my problem with this is it's not very scalable. Meaning, if you have more than say 4 or 5 settings, like I've seen some settings dialogues, like look at graphics cards. This thing will not scale. Yeah. But for simple controls, for sure.
Yeah, I think this is probably more for like an app. Like if you're
for sure
adding settings to an application.
Yeah.
So or a simple PWA type of thing where on here they have enable voicemail and email.
I'd be curious to know how this runs on a mobile device. That would be another concern. Like, is it touch sensitive and, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not so sure. This is the fun thing about the web. There's all these edge cases. It's like, I liken the web development to being like, well, actually, like there's always that person who raises their hand in class and like, do we have homework today? It's like, ugh, come on, guy. Who invited this guy? Like mobile is like that person in the audience. Don't we have an exam today? Like, shut up. When there's no such thing as mobile web, don't talk about it.
So they're showing you how to do like responsive web design with it.
Sure.
That's always a nice thing to add. So it's not exactly fully. This keeps going. It's not talking about like touch and stuff yet, but it
Yeah.
does talk about at least being able to view it properly.
Most of that stuff would be covered. I mean, if they're using this sort of canonical
There we
controls that are built into browsers now, yeah, okay, yeah,
So
they should be touch aware.
included, the touch theming and everything here.
The challenge with mobile web, I find, is always the fact that these things don't look great when you bring them up on a mobile device. So
And they're even talking about reduced motion here. So
Yeah.
if the animations of the sliders and the buttons and things are
Yep.
something that bother your user, they can turn that off. I mean, it's a very, very in-depth
Oh yeah,
article.
yeah.
And it gives you all of the code line by line.
Yeah, until
and the
it wants to run on
decisions.
enterprise, and then they're like, "Yeah, we need to fall back to IE6, please, thank you." You know, you're like, come on, no setting dialogue for you."
So I don't know if I covered it on the show, but we had that argument at work one time, and my solution was to calculate all of the development hours that it would take to support the IE6 users, and compare it against the cost of buying all IE6 users a tablet to access the
Yeah.
site. And
Yeah,
it was
probably be cheaper. Yeah,
It was
Just
cheaper to
upgrade
buy the
people's
tablets.
machines. Yep.
And
Yep.
after I showed that to the higher ups, they decided to go ahead and let people install Chrome instead because it was free.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, this is $40,000, this is $20,000, and then we have a free option. Let's do that one.
Yes. I know.
When you start putting things in dollars and cents, people tend to listen at that level
For sure. Yeah.
of operation.
Yeah. No, it's a good article. I like it. It's good.
Yeah, really.
Oh,
really
did
in-depth,
they
though.
use Storybook at all in the integration? You just do a search for
didn't
Storybook.
See Storybook.
Okay. If you haven't seen Storybook, wonderful tool, by the way. If you're building a component library and you're wanting to show, especially UI components, obviously, and you're wanting to give people a heads up as to how things kind of hang together and what functions are on, what properties and functions, etc., exist on your components for UI controls, Storybook is definitely a good tool, especially if you're building out a library. They give you all kinds of facilities of kind of like testing it out and poking the controls in various ways. I would have liked to have seen this article's great. Don't get me wrong. I would have liked to have seen it in Storybook as well.
Yeah. I wonder. There's a screenshot up here at the top.
Yeah.
This I don't know what this is taken in. Is this?
That looks to be like
Safari,
browser.
maybe?
Maybe possibly Firefox.
Okay.
I know that they have the hover integration.
Yeah,
So-
because they're doing the accessibility information and everything on there.
Yeah.
That looks like a Chrome thing, or a browser thing.
Yeah, you
It
just
doesn't
enable
say-
hover. I think all the dev tools now in browsers have that. You just enable hover mode, and then you can hover over elements, and
it's talking
it
about
will
Chrome.
display. Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah, this is talking about a lot about CSS Grid. We were talking about this on my
Sure.
last Blazor show. And what you can do is, I don't know if there's a grid on here, but you can get these highlighters up in
Yep.
the browser.
yeah.
And if you can use the hotkeys that he mentions here, but there's also,
Yes.
they put little buttons in here now. Yeah, I don't see any grids on this page, but there's actually a button that will pop up on the element, like right after the grid element. It'll say
Yeah.
grid, and you click on it, and
Yes.
it will show this information, and it will give you the coordinates of the cells in the grid and everything. It's really
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do now in browser dev tools. It's not even funny, and a lot of it's driven through the console. So the console has so many different shortcuts and hacks you can use that are really valuable. You can output tables. You can do all kinds of great things.
A bunch of Storybook fans in the chat room.
Yeah,
as
there you
well.
go. I think it's storybook.org if you wanted to give people just a quick. I can talk to it quickly. Otherwise, we can talk about the Worthy app channels here. But yeah, Storybook's a great tool.
So at Progress, we are doing a hackathon. It's called the Worthy Web Hackathon. So this is a hackathon to support something that makes the world a better place. We've got all of our tools available for use here for the hackathon. and there's prizes associated with the tools that you use from us. So if you want to use like Blazor or Angular or React, those things have bonus prizes attached to them for the best, case study on those particular tools. So
Now, Ed, I'm surprised. There's no bonus for best use of Doom.
that
Come
needs
on.
to be a thing. If you
Yeah.
push me,
Give
I
it
will
$1
happy.
prize. Add $1 as the bonus.
Better, a free copy of Doom.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll send you the MAME. Perfect.
Send you to GitHub because it's probably
Sure.
out there by now. It's
Yeah.
it's open source, so
Okay. So you got
actually,
600
I think the engine
participants
is
so far.
open
That's great.
source. The assets may not be, but the engine definitely is.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the hackathon is going on for the next 35 days. So
Okay.
you'll probably see me advertise it again. And we're doing extra shows on Twitch to coincide with the event. So Sam and I will be on tomorrow to talk about mobile development with .NET. So Blazor, mobile bindings,
Okay.
PWAs, responsive web design, that sort of thing. And then we have our usual shows coming up this week as well. We have our VR Thursday and UI Friday and React Wednesday. So just hit follow and you will get notified when those things happen.
Yes, sir.
Any words for the week, John?
No, not really. Go forth, learn something, be awesome, contribute back, be nice to each other. Usual.
All right, man. We'll take care and we will see you this week. Bye-bye.